Okay, Mayuresh Joshi is with us as well. Mayuresh, just last 3 minutes, so we'll have to make it a bit of a rapid fire. A quick thought on Axis Bank and the way it's reacted. If you had it in your portfolio, would you sell it?
Again, Neeraj, afternoon. Numbers disappointing to say the least, but largely again the belief is that over the next 2 quarters you will see some respite coming through on the credit cost front. Slippage is expected to probably bottom out as the management was also indicating, because a large part of the stress comes through from the metals and mining space for a lot of these corporate facing banks which have seen better days. So again, expectations of recovery in the first half of FY18, credit growth picking up, credit costs coming down, slippages coming down, which leads to provisioning coming down, and which would ultimately lead to asset quality improvement and return ratios improving. So again, I think the stock might trade sideways or consolidate at lower levels, but again, if it corrects 5-10% more, I think it becomes a good entry point for long-term investors.
Port is down about 4%. Bank of Baroda is catching some cold as well, down about 3.5% now, 154. Mayuresh, I really appreciate you waiting by patiently for us, just that the market is shutting, so we'll need to make it slightly quick. What did you make of Canara Bank, and does it augur poorly for the other PSU banks, because all of them are down right now?
So the private bank's performance, Neeraj, has been good so far, barring what Axis has done, which was expected to come in soft and tepid. But public sector banks, again, I think the whole focus, as the management was indicating, would be more of recoveries, upgradations, and credit growth has probably taken a backseat because of demonetization. So in that sense itself, I think the only solace factor for them would be the non-interest income component, more to do with the treasury gain part, and the large part of booking has happened in Q1, Q2. So it's really going to be a cyclical story in terms of capital adequacy, which a few of the banks are quite well placed, but largely I think for the large universe you'll still see some pain going through in an absolute basis as well as on a relative basis, on a QQ and a YOY basis. But more or less I think it's the private space that still probably takes the honors in terms of giving better numbers. And again, I think the larger public sector banks is something that one should keep in focus, and again selectively at that after looking at numbers.
Okay, Mayuresh, stay on. I really appreciate your gesture today. Please stay on just for a moment as we just get ready to wind up trade. CK Narayan, quick views on 2 stocks. One of them is Adani Power, which is down 11%. Would you go ahead and short it at these levels? And the other one is MRPL. Any levels that you have in mind for this one?
Well, I think as far as Adani Power is concerned, it must be, like I said about other stocks, that is also taken a hit, maybe because of the overloaded long position, because we had seen a very strong uptrend in that. So I think this is long liquidation which is bringing it down. I don't see there's too much room from current levels, maybe another rupee and a half down, so that doesn't really call for a short position to really be created at this at this juncture. The other stock which you mentioned was
MRPL.
Well, MRPL is again similar story. Like we are seeing this sort of pattern today across the board, large downward ranges. I think the market has got completely spooked over some matter. There are various rumors floating around. No one really has a handle on what. But MRPL at about 100 rupees has hit down into support. So I would think that if Monday there is no follow through to the downside, I would choose to be a buyer in MRPL at 100 rupees.
Jamal, let's start wrapping the market. You're looking at the index at 8350. You have the mid cap and the small cap indices down about 1.5%. This is the kind of shakeout that Sandeep was talking about ahead of the budget. Doesn't come as a surprise. You would want to take some positions off. Remember, we are going to be contesting with an early expiry at the start of the year. So it just seems very much in the realms of possibility that the market will step back just that wee bit, getting into that event risk. The biggest loser on the index this afternoon is Axis Bank, that's down 7%. You have Adani Port, which is down 3%. Tata Steel, Tata Motors, Hindalco, BHEL, Tata Power, all of them down and under. You are looking at Tech Mahindra also losing ground. And then you have the financials. ICICI Bank is weak. SBI has lost ground, ONGC has lost ground, Bank of Baroda has been under pressure. The list of the losers is actually long, and the average cuts are between 1.5% to 2.5%. So that just shows you that market participants are stepping back a wee bit. with their intraday positioning. Idea Cellular holding out, Yes Bank is a gainer, and Bharti Airtel also doing its bit. To the broader markets, just want to bring up the market breadth, which obviously would be favoring the declines. So there's pressure as far as broader market unwinding goes. Among gainers, Ruchi Soya is holding out 13% higher. You have Navneet Education 6% up. Havells has had a very good session in trade. Volta has followed suit as well. Now, I'm also looking at JSW Energy. I'm looking at Suzlon picking it up in trade, and some of the illiquid names. So AkzoNobel has had a good session. EID Parry has followed suit, and even United Spirits for that matter, about 1.5% higher. Some of the mid-tier banking names such as City Union Bank have contributed their bit. Among losers, 11% down on Adani Power. That's a slam dunk coming in right there. MRPL down 7%. Syntex Industries down 7% on what has seemed like a disappointing set of numbers. Canara Bank down 5%, even though they're saying that their gross NPAs would reduce drastically over the course of the next 15 months. Jain Irrigation down, M&M Financial down, Supreme Infra down. These are largely the well-traded mid-caps which are facing the brunt today. Patel Engineering also down 4.5%. That's the market for you.
Yeah, must be said that all the result boys have reacted the way they probably were supposed to. I think a lot of disappointment for stocks like Adani Power, for example. It's corrected quite a bit in a single session itself. There would be odd names like Monet Ispat and few others, Zuari Global, etc., which are falling on good volumes despite there not being any apparent news there. But I think what is particularly interesting is the way some of the NBFCs have corrected today. Ahead of results, Mayuresh, next week, is seeing quite a bit of weakness today in M&M Financial, Bharat Financial. Is it a case of people having bought up into these stocks and now at the first sign of weakness there is some selling here that is happening, or is there more to it?
No, again, largely, Neeraj, I think it's a two-way process that people are looking on, investors are looking at the stock here. I think the effect of demonetization, housing finance companies have bucked the trend because expectations were quite low-key, and exactly the opposite happened in terms of how the asset quality and loan growth panned out. Similarly, I think that same sense of fear prevails when it comes to housing in microfinance companies or rural finance companies like M&M. But again, I think the asset quality pressures specifically on companies like M&M Financial still existing, even though they are on that 120-day bucketing provisioning. It's still relatively higher compared to a few others in the same space. So as they move, when the transition period happens to the 90-day provisioning, I think there's going to be a 100-125 bips hit on the higher side as far as the NPA provisioning is concerned. And we're at the same time probably looking at slower credit growth, at least for Q3, Q4. So in that sense itself, I think earnings in the second half of FY17 and earnings estimates are expected to take hits and downgrades. How the recovery probably happens in the first half of FY18 is probably what we'll come to know when the management speak post results. So management commentaries are going to be extremely key for rural facing stocks and for stocks within the microfinance space. The recovery should be fast, Neeraj, in my opinion as well, over the next few weeks. But one really needs to wait and watch in terms of the actual delivery of numbers coming through, and then probably take a call on the stocks.
Okay, Mayuresh, much appreciate you being with us today and being patient with us as well. Thanks so much for taking the time out, and have a good weekend today.
Thank you so much.
Okay, final thoughts from our experts. I think we've taken enough index opinion out here. Siddharth, anything else that has stood out for you in terms of the trading pattern today? Something that you would probably look to trade or capitalize on Monday morning?
First, Neeraj, on index, I would want to say that we had 8 trading sessions of consolidation where less than